Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear Dhamma friends, before we start our sutta, do you have anything to ask about these 5 aggregates of clinging meditation? Yes.
Consciousness. Would a synonym be awareness?
Yeah, consciousness actually, there are 6 types of consciousness. Depending on the consciousness where it arises, we named it. Right? For example, when we have fire with the wood, it is called wood fire. Right? If we used a cow dung for the fire, we call cow dung fire. Right? So something else we use for the fire, we name the fire from that the ingredients, whatever the things, right? So, and consciousness will arise in the eyes, right? And consciousness will arise in the ears and nose, tongue, and body and mind, right? Those are the places consciousness will arise. For with this consciousness, we identify the differences, right? So we identify especially this person is like this person is like this, right? So the recognition of that, or if you have some feeling, so you separate the feeling, right? So that is called consciousness, right? So identify that. You can separate that if you the eye consciousness, you can separate from green from black, black from red, right? If you hear that, you are aware of that sounds, right? That is called consciousness. Those consciousness will arise in the faculties, right? So depend on the place they arise, we named it. If it is eye, it is called eye consciousness. If it is in the ears, it's called ear consciousness. Then tongue consciousness, body consciousness, then mind consciousness. Consciousness,
Mind consciousness.
mind consciousness is in the mind, right? This is how it arises. We have mind, okay? So with the thoughts, when we get the thoughts, with our attention, it will arise the consciousness. There are two things to arise consciousness. If it is I, right, I and form, then it will arise with our attention. You need to have attention to arise that consciousness, right? So with our attention, it will arise I consciousness. When it's, if there's no attention, right, so it don't arise. It will not arise. Like for example, you open your eyes, you are meditating, but your mind is to the your attention is not there, right? So then consciousness will not arise. Okay, then so you're watching TV, your your mind is in the TV, right? So somebody is calling you, but you don't hear, right? It you need to have attention, right? So then it will arise consciousness, right? Yeah. Any other things you want to ask? These are the actually these 5 aggregates of clinging. There are 2 types. What is called that time and space. That's why time and space. Time is past, present, and future. A space. That's why. What are the space? So this is the way that Buddha explained the internal, external. Internal means it's our form. That time when you consider form, we are considering our form, right? External form. To me, all of you are external forms, right? So then there are some gross forms, right? So we all have gross forms. Then there are subtle forms. For example, or the devas, or brahmas, or ghosts, they have very subtle form. Then inferior forms. Consider that come if you consider that the deva forms, that ghost forms are inferior, right? So that's why that when consider brahma's form, that devas forms are inferior. Then superior forms are brahma's forms. So we see all kind of forms. Right? Then whatever the form that are far, right? Whatever any planetary system, any form, and the forms that are near, all forms are permanent or impermanent. Impermanent. Why it is impermanent?
Everything's improved.
Yeah. So those are conditions. Something is condition. Condition from what? Four forms are conditional. Four great element: earth element, water element, heat element, and air element. Okay? That's how that we develop. And feelings depend on
And one thing.
contact, right? And perception depend on contact, right? And volition depend on contact. And consciousness, mentality, and materiality, name and form, right? So this is the way that we see that conditioned things are impermanent. So we see uh, time is past, present, and future. So we have past fear forms? Did we have past forms? We had past forms, right? Forget about the previous life, this life, not today. Think about that yesterday. Did you have form? We had forms, right? And so if you think about that, go fast forward to the like 20s, you had the form, right? And not like today, right? So, and those things are impermanent, right? In the future forms, those are not permanent, it's impermanent. We see that all these ways, that all these, that everything that did not, uh, you know, remove anything, all the things included in this meditation, all the five aggregates of clinging, what in the past, in the previous lives, we had the forms, it became impermanent. In future, even we had forms, it will be impermanent. In our present forms, it will be impermanent. Our internal form, it will be impermanent. And external forms, right? Gross, subtle, inferior, superior, the ghost forms or devas forms or brahmas forms, right? Everything is impermanent, right? So maybe that when you consider the devas forms, they are not gross like us, right? We cannot see from our eyes that unless they create the gross form, and devas cannot see brahma's form because they are subtle, because their air element is more. That's why, right? Do they have that earth element, water element, heat element? They have, yeah. Because, but however, the air element is more. That's because very very subtle. So this is the way, the condition, all these condition thing. Because maybe sometimes maybe we may think, okay, it's better to have Brahma's form, right? But that also impermanent. That's why it is very very powerful meditation. And what is Buddha explained? Uh, all the sorrow. The first noble truth is truth of sorrow, right? What is sorrow? Birth is sorrow, aging and death, lamentation and separation from loved ones, right? So, and engaging with the unwanted people and things, that's everything is sorrow. So everything can be included into five aggregates of clinging, right? So there's a first noble truth. If somebody can understand first noble truth, he will understand the reason for suffering, right? You will understand the cessation of suffering. You will understand the path to end the suffering, which is called Eight Noble Path, right? So that's why it is very important meditation. All right, so we'll go to our today's sutta, right? Homage to our teacher, most venerable Nakulapitusutta Mahanse. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, now today we are going to study that another important sutta in Samyutta Nikaya, the connected discourses. Again, that's also very why I said important. Again, that the analysis of five aggregates of clinging, right? So, as I mentioned earlier, so we can conclude all the sufferings into five aggregates of clinging. What are the five aggregates of clinging? Forms aggregate of clinging, then feeling aggregates of clinging, perception aggregates of clinging, then volitional formation of aggregates of clinging, and consciousness of aggregates of clinging. So sometimes we are getting sick, right? We are getting sick, and nobody here was not sick, right? I think, right? And except that Bakula, great enlightened monk, he lived 160 years. So 160 years, he did not even have a small cold, right? Because he did a very great good karma in the past lives. That's why. Other than that, we all get sick, right? So whatever that, because we know that we got COVID, and there was a wave of COVID that's still going on, right? So or cold, any other kind of diseases. So when you got sick, our our body will be not in a good mood. What have happened to our mind? We'll go down with the mind, right? So if someone can stay, even though they get some kind of diseases or sickness, but if then keep their mind is not attached with that sickness, that will be great, right? So it's a great thing. Now today's sutta, Buddha is teaching how to keep mind without touching with the sickness, right? This body is getting all the sickness, one after the other, right? One is finished, then uh, all these things happen to the body. But however, from the mind, you are happy and you know the things. Now, today's that sutta, that something happened to Nakula Mata, Nakula Pita. Have you heard about Nakula Mata, Nakula Pita? Right? Nakula Mata means, Nakula Mata means Nakula mother. Nakula Pita means Nakula father. They are husband and wife. One day that and the Buddha was going arms round. They both of them they came and they met Buddha, and they hold the Buddha, and they asking that my our son, where were you all these years? And let's go our home. And Buddha was going with them. And everybody was so that surprised, because they knew that because Buddha's father was King Suddhodana and mother was Queen Mahamaya. They surprised, and so then all the monks surprised too. They went to their house, they had the dana, that the food, they offered the food. Then Buddha explained that this is a ancient tradition, because they were father and mother for 500 times in the previous births. They were mother and both of them, mother and father, 500 births. Then Buddha explained. So then Buddha preached the Dhamma, they both of them became Sota Panna, that is Trimetra. So from then that onward, they frequently visited the Buddha and listened to Dhamma talk. Right. So now today is the sutta we are going to learn Nakula Pitusutta, Nakula Pita. Okay, that it is in Samyutta Nikaya for in the Samyutta Connected Discourses, the book number 3. So I will share with you that sutta, right? So and Nakulapita. So Nakulapitusutta. So again, that you are familiar with all the suttas. Yeah, you know that Andamante is reporting. Thus have I heard. That time, Supreme Buddha was living in Baggas at Sumaragira in the Besakala Grove, the deer park. That's one of the deer park. Then household Nakulapita, they were living closer to that place. And he came to see the Buddha, approached the Blessed One, and he worshipped the Buddha and sat down to one side and said to him, he is saying, I am old, venerable sir, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, come to the last stage, afflicted in the body, often ill, right? So always getting sick. I rarely get to see Blessed One and the bhikkhus worthy of stay. He, because when he got sick, he did not have a chance to come and see the Buddha or other, um, that great arahants. Then he said, let the Blessed One exhort me, Venerable Sir. Let him instruct me, since that would lead to my welfare and happiness for a longer time. So he is saying, Venerable Sir, please teach me the Dhamma, that those Dhamma will benefit me for a longer time, right? Because I cannot come to the monastery very often, same like earlier, because he used to go to see the Buddha very often, right? When the Buddha was in their city. So then Buddha said, so it is householder, so it is. Buddha approved it. This body of yours is afflicted, weighed down, encumbered. If any one carrying around this body were to claim to be healthy, even for one moment, what is that due to other than foolishness? If we can say this one any moment is healthy, cannot say because next time you'll get some sickness, right? Therefore, householder, you should train, right? Train yourself, thus, how we can, is advising to train yourself, thus, even though I am afflicted in body, even though you got any disease in your body, my mind will be unafflicted. You don't touch that because of sickness. Because most of the time, people got sick, they will go mentally down, right? So when you see that, uh, most of the time, uh, so before that, even small thing, they will go in small disease, they will go down, right? That's what you train yourself. This is the way to train yourself because how to train, even though we afflicted, your mind shouldn't go down, right? How we can do that? Now, there's explaining this one, right? So, and usually that people, regular worldings, we call, regular worldings, then when they got sick, what happened? They don't know how to change their mind, right? Not to touch that down, or not to touch their not to how to remove their mind with that affliction. Their mind will go down. Okay. Uh, then the household and Akulopita, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's statement, and Supreme said, not to get down from your mind. Right? He was very happy, rose from his seat, and having paid homage to Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he approached the Venerable Sariputta. They worshipped and they went around the Supreme Buddha. That's a tradition that keeping our hands to the Supreme Buddha. That's why when we worship the stupa, you always go to keeping our right side to stupa, right? Uh, Keeping him on his right, he approached the Venerable Sariputta, having paid homage to Venerable Sariputta. He sat down to one side, and the Venerable Sariputta then said to him, Sariputta Bhante, he was the foremost from wisdom after Supreme Buddha, right? So one time he mentioned to all the monks, monks, these Venerable Sariputta can count the water drops came down to earth for the past eons. All kind of eons he can count, right? So we cannot even, recall whatever we ate last Wednesday, right, for our lunch, right? But he can count for last eons how many drops, uh, you know, fall on earth, and it was raining. So, and then he saw the Sariputta Bhante, and he worshipped Sariputta Bhante, and he sat down one side. Then Sariputta Bhante told him, "This householder, your faculties are serene." What's the meaning of faculty are serene? Huh?
Right.
Bright, right? Your facial complexion is pure and bright. And did you get to hear Dhamma talk today in the presence of Blessed One? That's what happened, that when you listen to Dhamma talk, you'll be happy, right? So you'll be happy. Your all the complexion will change, right? So he was very happy because after listening to the Dhamma talk of the Buddha, Nakulapita is saying, "Why not, Venerable Sir? Just now, I was anointed by the Blessed One with the ambrosia of the Dhamma talk," right? So he was very happy with what kind of ambrosia of the Dhamma talk did the Blessed One anoint you, household? He asked that. Which kind of Dhamma talk? Here, Venerable Sir, I approached the Blessed One. He explained the Dhamma talk, right? So whatever happened, he went and he told that I'm getting sick all the time. I cannot come and see that Supreme Buddha or other enlightened monks like earlier. So therefore, teach me the Dhamma to beneficial for longer time. Then he said, that uh, when your body is sick, don't touch your mind. So right. So then he explained. Then household Nakulapita repeats his entire conversation with the Buddha. Okay. So there was another sutta when we discussed this one, Nakulamata, Nakulapita, when they met Supreme Buddha, they asked that Nakula Pita is saying that Nakula Mata is very helpful to me, and she was very nice to me. And Nakula Mata is saying, "Oh, the Nakula Pita is very helpful to me. We like to be born again, uh, and we're going to get together again, right?" But after they became Sotapan, and he explained that, "Oh yeah, if you want to be born into same place again, so you can be born into same place, but you have to keep four things." What are the four things? Keep equal Shraddha, faith, equal virtues, then equal generosity, and equal wisdom. These four things if you can keep, that will be, you will be born again and you will meet again. And so it is beneficial to you. But why Buddha said this one to those things? Because they are sotapannas, right? Sotapannas, that what happened if sometimes we saw that some people, they promise in front of stupa and or bodhi tree. So we like to go along sansara, that long journey of sansara, the next birth altogether. So some people are suffering from that, right? So then what happened? They are uh, so someone was born into human world, other one was born into ghost world or naga world. So somebody comes to Dhamma path, is trying to escape from this Lonjan Sansara. He is coming to disturb, right? Disturb. Oh, we get the we confess and we did the merit together in front of Bodhi stupa, and to go this Sansara and escape from Sansara together. But you are trying to do it, it's alone. Therefore, this is separate, right? So the Sotapanna was, uh, but it is equal Shraddha, equal faith, if you equal virtues, equal, uh, what's that thing? Generosity, and equal wisdom. If you have equal all those things, but you are in the down path, so you will meet again, right? So, and does not for the regular worldlies. That's a Sotapannas, the system entrance. So, then, okay, that Now, Sariputta Bhante again, it was with the ambrosia of such Dhamma talk, Venerable Sir, that the Blessed One anointed me. So then that time Sariputta Bhante is asking the question, don't it occur to you, householder, to question the Blessed One further as to how one is afflicted in body and afflicted in mind, and how one is afflicted in body but not afflicted in mind? Did you ask that question? So how to afflicted the body and mind, and body is afflicted, not to afflicted by mind. But he forgot to ask that one because he was happy about the Supreme Leader said. He forgot to ask that, right? So, and then he said, we would come from far away, Venerable Sir, to learn the meaning of this statement from Venerable Sariputta. It would be good indeed if the Venerable Sariputta would clear up the meaning of this statement, right? He wanted to know that in detail. Then Sariputta Bhante explained to him, then listen and attend closely, householder, I will speak. And yes, Venerable Sir, the householder Nakulapita replied, the Venerable Sariputta said this. And he is teaching how to keep that unafflicted the mind, even though afflicted by the body. So how householder is one afflicted in body and afflicted in mind? How is Sariputta Bhante explaining how someone is afflicted by body and mind? Here, householder, the uninstructed worldlings, right? Who is uninstructed worldlings? They uh, they don't know about Supreme Buddha's teachings. They haven't heard about Supreme Buddha. They don't know about Supreme Buddha. They don't know about uh, that enlightened monks, right? They are unskilled for their teachings, right? So therefore, householder, the uninstructed worldlings, who is not a seer of noble ones and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, who is not a seer of superior persons and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, right? Then so they are unskilled. So they consider such a way the form, feeling, perception, volitional formation, and consciousness such a way, right? Now, this is the way Sariputta Bhante is teaching here. Regard form as self, right? Self means I am, mine, myself, right? So form is as self. Or they consider self as possessing form. Self as possessing form. Or they consider form in self. The self, I am, mind is there. The form is inside in it. Or self as in form, right? So then form is there, self is inside there. So because this is a four way of form views they have regarding forms. He lives obsessed by notions. I am form. Form is mine. As he lives obsessed by these notions, that forms of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of forms, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Why this form? Because this condition subject to change, right? Condition on four great element, earth element, water element, heat element, and air element. So its condition is going to change. So what will happen when it's changing? They think that form is mine. I am myself. They think that we can keep under our control this form. But by thinking that way, what happened? Form is changing. That they start to get, sorrow, pain, lamentation, all kind of pain to their mind. Okay, not only that, how we get the feelings? We get the feelings for the forms. Forms, we get the feeling, and sounds, we get the feeling, and smells, we get the feeling, and taste, we get the feeling, and tangibles, we get the feeling, and thoughts, we get the feeling, right? How we get the feeling? Okay, feeling. How we get the feeling? Feeling is condition uh, with the contact, right? The eye contact, right? Ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. What is the meaning of contact? Eye contact. The form, the ear is there. The form will come in front of their eyes. Then with their attention, it will generate consciousness, eye consciousness. The unification of these three things, eye, form, and consciousness, is called the contact of eye. With this contact, there will be a feeling for forms, right? And maybe feelings that maybe pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, maybe neutral feeling. But there's a reason. He regards feeling as self. Okay, so he consider as self or self as possessing feeling. Next one is the feeling as in self. So it is inside self and self as in feeling. So feeling is there and I'm in there. He lives obsessed by notions. I am feeling, feeling is mine, as he lives obsessed by those notions. That feeling of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of feelings, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. So, can we keep this feeling for without changing forever? No, subject to change because it's conditioned, right? So, let's say that you see the beautiful things, right? By watching all these beautiful things, can you get the same feeling for the beautiful things continuously when you're watching that? No, it will change. Why? It's contact change, right? So, and Buddha gave a nice simile for the feelings that think about the water puddle that because the heavy rain, that bubble will come, right? So bubble will come, right away it will vanish. Another will come. Same like feelings, right? We have feeling for forms, all of a sudden it disappears. So the feeling from ears or maybe same eyes, we change our eyes, somewhere else, the feeling contact change, feeling change, right? So, but however, that the regular world is they don't know about these teachings. What will happen? They think I am feeling, feeling is mine. As he lives obsessed by this notion that feeling is of these changes and alters with the change and alteration of this of feeling. They arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Okay, feeling. Okay, now he regards perception, right? Perception as self. We we perceive forms from our ears, from our eyes, right? And sounds, right? We have perception for sounds and smells. We have perception for smells. Then tastes, tangibles, and thoughts. We have perceptions. Um, we have distorted perception in addition to this one, because the distorted perception, there are four ways that we perceive that in a distorted way our perception, but the distorted way of perception. In addition to this one, that when you perceive some things, we think that foulness as beauty and suffering thing as happy, then important things as permanent, and we think that non-self as self. This kind of four ways we distorted our perception. We perceive with that wrong ways. Okay. So now here he regards perception as self, or self as possessing perception, and or perception as in self, or self as in perception. He lives obsessed by notions. I am perception. Perception is mine. And it's again that perception, right? Because perception, I am mine myself. And as he lives obsessed by these notions, that perception of his changes and alters with the change and alteration of this perception. There arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Right? So, how we get the perception? Contact, right? Contact of eye, we get the perception. Contact of ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, we get the perception, right? So, however, he thinks this perception, these four ways, four wrong ways. When you get the perception, four wrong ways, okay? And how he consider volition? He regards volition for formation as self, for self as possessing volition formation, or volition formation as in self, or self as in volition formation. He lives obsessed by notion. I am volitional formation. Okay. And volitional, volitional formations are mine. As he lives obsessed by these notions, those volitional formations of his changes, change and alter. Why it is volitional formations? From eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind with the contact. If the contact change, what happened to volitional formation? It will change, right? However, he considers those all things four wrong ways. Is I am, mine, myself. So it changed. What will happen to him? Or sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Okay. So, and not only that, he regards consciousness as self. Okay. Or self as position consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. So now that we have consciousness for ear, in eye, right? Ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Okay, we have consciousness. Right. So he lives obsessed by the notion I am consciousness. Consciousness is mine. Right. As he lives obsessed by these notions, that consciousness of his changes and alters. His consciousness always changes. Right. Consciousness always changes. In eye consciousness or ear consciousness, because the condition changes. Right. Okay. With the change and alteration of consciousness, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Because this consciousness always change. Like so, I consciousness goes I and form. It will arise to consciousness. The based on mentality and materiality. What is mentality? Earth element, water element, heat element, and alien. What is that? Mentality, feeling, perception, original formation, and contact and attention, right? So, and this will happen. So this is the way Sariputta Bhante explained here. It is in such a way household that one is afflicted in body and afflicted in mind, right? So then, if somebody is thinking in this way, they cannot uh, escape that afflicted mind, because they think this I am mind. You cannot, this. But however, even though we think I am and mine, so we cannot. So we can raise your clothes and we can comb your hair, but we cannot stop uh, getting your hair is gray. You can use dye, cannot stop. You cannot stop getting older. Okay, so and we cannot stop getting sick. And Sariputta Bhante explain here, uh, and how householder is one afflicted in body, but not afflicted in mind. So how? Here householder, the instructed noble disciples. So noble disciple, he's instructed noble disciple, they know the Dhamma, they know the Supreme Buddha, They listen to Dhamma talk, right? So, and they know the noble one of Dhamma is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, who is a seer of superior persons and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, does not regard form as self, but he does not consider form as self, and or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. He does not live obsessed by notion, I am form, form is mine, and as I live unobsessed by these notions, what will happen? That form of his changes and alters with the change and alteration of form. There do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair, because he knows his form is conditioned from for great elements, subject to change, right? Is subject to change. He knows that he does not change his mind. He knows that is the way, right? He does not regard feeling as self, or self as possessing feeling, or feeling as in self, or self as in feeling. He does not live obsessed by notions. I am feeling, feeling is mine, as he lives unobsessed by these notions, that feeling of these changes and alters. With the change and alteration of feeling, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair, because feelings are always condition and contact, subject to change, always changing, right? So he knows that it will change, right? Um, so therefore, he does not consider I am, mine, myself, right? It's a And even if you think that I am going to understand this Dhamma, what will happen? Because I am going to understand. Again, I am mind myself, right? So you have to make that the condition for realization. What is the condition? Great condition is Eight Noble Path, right? So, and he does not regard perception as self, or self as perception, or perception as in self, or self as in perception. He does not live obsessed by notions, I am perception, or perception is mine, as he lives unobsessed by those notions, that perception of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of perception, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. But perception, again, the condition of contact, right? So where we get the perception, we perceive forms, sounds, and smells, tastes, tangibles, and thoughts. Okay. So with the contact of eye, contact of ears, contact of nose, contact of tongue, contact of body, contact of mind, right? With the contact. Um, so and it will change, subject to change. Right? So and so perception, he knows that his condition subject to change. He is not he did not have distorted perception. Right? What are the four ways of distorted perception?
That's impermanent.
Permanent and impermanent.
Shows pain, pain as pleasure.
Sorry?
Something that's painful, we see it as
No, something is uh, foulness, but he thinks that beauty. And something same is sorrow, but he thinks happiness. And something is non-self, but he's self. He thinks that he can change according to himself. Okay. So that perception also, not I am, not mine, not myself. That's the meditation we practice, right? So and the perception in after that, volitional formation. So volitional formation. Again, volitional formation is condition of contact, right? visual information for forms, sounds, smells, tastes, and tangibles and thoughts. And he does not regard volitional formation as self or self as position volitional formations or volitional formation as in self or self as in volitional formations. He does not live obsessed by notions. I am volitional formations. Volitional formations are mine. As he lives unobsessed by these notions, those volitional formations of his change and alter uh, with the change of an alteration of volitional formation, they do not arise in him sorrow, right? Sorrow, lamentation, uh, so and lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair, right? So those are that's the volitional formation, and he does not regard consciousness as self or self as possession consciousness or consciousness as in self or self as in consciousness. So these are the 20 ways of wrong view, right? So when you consider lower fetters, there's two types of fetters: lower fetters and upper fetters. Right? Lower fetters. That what are the five things in the lower fetters?
Right.
Sakkaya ditthi, which is called wrong view, and which is
Right.
wrong practices and doubt. Right. So this is the uh, main thing that Sakkaya ditthi, the wrong view, Sakkaya ditthi, and he does not regard consciousness as self or self as possessing consciousness or consciousness as in self or self as in consciousness. He does not live obsessed by the notions. I am consciousness, consciousness is mine. As he lives unobsessed by these notions, that consciousness of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of consciousness, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. So consciousness is with right condition on mentality and materiality. Mentality is feeling, perception, volitional formation, contact, and attention, right? And materiality is four eight elements, right? So based on those things, and so consciousness will will have ear, eyes, nose, tongue, body, and mind, right? Then he explain in it is in such a way householder. Now this is that how to see the impermanent nature of this form, feeling, perception, volition, formation, and consciousness, right? So when somebody sees that way, it is in such a way householder that one is afflicted in body but not afflicted in mind. This is the way to unafflicted, right? Because you know that the condition that all these things are conditioned. Oh, but by listening to this one, cannot see this one, but we have to practice, right? That's why how we practice the five aggregates of clinging, impermanent nature of five aggregates of clinging meditation or uh, faculty impermanent meditation of faculties, right? Somebody who who is practicing this one, they can see this one. So they can see this all these ways of impermanent nature, because now when you listen that you just memorize this one and sutta, data, vachasa, parijita. That vachasa, parijita means you practice from your words, right? Sutta means you listen. Data means you remember, you memorize this one. Then vachasa, parijita, that means you practice from verbally. And sutta, data, vachasa, parijita, manasanupekkita, you see from your wisdom. So from first three things, sutta, data, vachasa, parijita, still it is not realization. Then sutta, data, vachasa, parijita, manasanupekkita, ditya, suppatividda. Manasanupekkita, you that recall from your mind. And ditya, uh, you change your ditti, that view, right? You have the right view. So that is that two things called you go for realization, right? So in order to go to for realization, we have to practice not only one, not only two, many times. How many times we have to practice that? It depends on your internal way that you develop, right? Maybe some people can understand very easily. Some people can, it will take some time, right? So, but however, with the practice, uh, we go for realization. Okay. Um, so Sariputta Bhante explained this one. And if Buddha was present, Buddha was present here, and so he could understand all these internal faculties: Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Prajna. Right? Saddha, faith faculty, the energy, uh, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. Right? Then he can see in the past lives what are the things we did in order to develop those things. So he will preach the according to that way. Maybe small stanzas just to understand, develop that internal faculties. Okay, but now Buddha is not here. But however, we have his Dhamma and his code of conduct, right? But still, Buddha said after I'm attaining parinibbana, but still don't think that you don't have a teacher, but you have my teachings, Dhamma, and also code of conduct, right? So Dhamma can change this one. When you try to initiate Dhamma within yourself, what will happen? You'll start to rotate Dhamma wheel within yourself, Dhamma, right? So it will change everything. Only Dhamma can do that, right? Nothing else. That's why Buddha did all these kind of sacrifice, or this, 400,000 uncalculatable eons and 100,000 eons. He developed all these good qualities to be the Buddha. And after he became Buddha, and he did 6 years, his great renunciation, right? He tried every possible way. Then after that, he found um, the way, and he preached without hiding anything. He preached everything, right? So now, why that in the Buddha's time and now the present time, there's a difference. Buddha's time, when they listen, they practice, they understand. Today, we practice and practice. What will happen? There's something is blocking that. That's a development. The difference between the Buddha's time, the people, they have that lot of good karma, right? But we were fortunate to have be born into Buddha's Dhamma is available. Still, we need to practice more, right? We have to practice more, right? That's the meaning of that. You have to practice. But however, if somebody is practicing this Dhamma, result is guaranteed or not? Result is guaranteed. Whether you can be Sotapanna, you can be once returner, or maybe non-returner, right? Or it couldn't be that you can be born into heavenly world, right? So when you're practicing, you died, then you will be born into heavenly world, but still you have then you will meet other Kalyana Mitras in that they are practicing Dhamma, so you get the chance. In heavenly worlds and Brahma world, there are so many that attain us into some levels, right? So in Agami, right, Sotapannas and returners. So that's the benefit of that when you're practicing. And the meditation we did, that's another meditation. You can overcome the bad karma and develop good karma. You are reaching to closer to more and more to the enlightenment, right? In this important nature of faculties, or five aggregates of important nature of five aggregates of clinging, right? We cling to these things. I told these five things. Okay. And So then he was very happy. Nakula Pita elated the household Nakula Pita, delighted in the Venerable Sariputta's statement, right? So by listening to this one, may all of us be fortunate to understand Four Noble Truths in this Gautam Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.